Colton Whitney, how are you? Colton came on my radar, I believe through Becky Garcia. And then I started researching Colton and found out that he is a master at conversion and working the database with his team. They have a really good high conversion rate. And so I'm like, oh, perfect, because we really need conversion right now. There's lots and lots of leads sitting in databases, whether you buy leads or whether you just have been in the business for a little while and you've collected a lot of people. And what I'm seeing as a coach is nobody's diving deep enough into those leads, into those people and bodies that are inside the database. Mike Ferry was here for the first time I think he hasn't been in the desert for about 15 years. And he was my first mentor. And in 1994, all we did was learn scripts, dialogues, and prospecting back in the day. And it seems to be a forgotten art in some cases. And I sat through 3 days of really old school training from Mike Ferry. And I will tell you, it was a breath of fresh air because the light bulb went off. This stuff still works, but now we have all this new technology. Okay. Like he was still talking about 3x5 cards. I have a feeling that Colton might talk about a 3x5 card today.
I just was taking notes.
Okay, good. But we have these tech platforms, these databases, CRMs, all different kinds. All of you on this call are probably using something different. Follow Up Boss is probably a primary out there in the world right now. But they all work if you use it. Colton, give us a little bit of your history and then what caused you to become a conversion guy where you're like, this just has to be trained and we have to get our team to do this?
Yeah, so a little bit of I'm one of the few realtors that you'll meet that actually hates what I do. I don't enjoy real estate. I don't enjoy talking to clients. I never have. I don't think I ever will. Introverted by nature. I can fake it for stuff like this. But I ended up having my daughter, who's photographed back here. She's almost 18 years old. She's going to turn 18 this year. So I had her when I was 16.
Wow.
So I was very young. Fortunately, I graduated high school 2 years early, and I wanted to be an attorney, but I didn't come from a family that could afford to put me through school. So I was like, shoot, I got to be able to make money. I got to have something to where I'm not going to have a ceiling. My dad's best friend, who was a legend in Las Vegas named Frank Napoli, he was my mentor. So he got me into it when I was 18 years old. And the things that I organically learned, because I like a lot of the stuff that I'm going to talk about today is don't do the stupid stuff. And one, please don't ever get offended if I say, hey, don't do this dumb thing, because the only thing I can promise you is whatever dumb thing I'm telling you not to do is stuff that we always did. And it was once I figured out that you really do need an organized sales process. And when you can refine an organized sales process, and you can start making small, little, tiny incremental improvements to that process, it will deliver a disproportionate return in comparison to people who don't. And I'm going to talk about that from the very, very beginning. But when I realized, I really genuinely hated real estate, I could not be more unhappy doing it. And I'll never forget in 2020, COVID hit. It was super hot outside. I was wearing the mask. I was showing a house with the most nightmare client that I've ever dealt with. And I was like, this is the stuff I hate. So I really got intentional on building up a team. But when you make that decision to make your success dependent upon the success of others, it was a really great, amazing shift, because I was like, oh, all this stuff that I've learned and built into my head, I now need to be able to put onto an SOP so I can train agents how to utilize it. So I can train agents to make sure that they're executing a plan that will deliver a substantially better conversion rate, because the vast majority of us think that we need to have more leads. And it's like, you don't need to have more leads. You just got to go back and convert half of the ones that you failed to convert from last year. And if you can literally create a 0.2% increase in conversion, 0.2, you'll have a 25% increase in income. A 0.2% increase in conversion rate will generate a 25% increase in revenue. So I got really intentional with it. And
say that again, a 0.2 increase in conversion rate
will create a 25% increase in commission income.
25% increase in income.
So
write that down.
And everybody wants a higher conversion rate. But we first got to understand what is it that leads to it. Now I'm going to share my screen here, so bear with me. I hope this isn't screwed up. If it is, tell me. Let's see. I swear I've done this a billion times, but yet here I am. Oh, go back. Is it on this side? My screen's all screwed up here. Oh, there we go. Cool. All right. Can you guys see this okay?
Yes.
All right. So everybody remembers these years. These years were when real estate, everybody was looking to buy or sell. And I kid you not, there was a day I walked into Starbucks once, and I remember walking in, I'll never forget it. I walked in, and every single person that was sitting was somebody who was talking about real estate. And I remembered hearing about this, like when I got into the business in 2008 in Las Vegas, which was the worst time of all time in the worst city to get into real estate. But I remember my mentor telling me back in 2004, 2005, everybody was buying. You'd put a sign in the yard, and by the time you got back to the office, you had 12 offers. And we had never experienced that. But we all know how it got. And I love our industry, because you'll have somebody sell a house for 150,000 over ask price and sold in 3 hours for 150 grand over ask price, and I'm a superhero. Well, we've all seen everybody's cape start to disappear a little bit. Now everybody's not a superstar. Now they're not riding the momentum of the market. Agents are starting to struggle. And the reality of it is there is destruction by abundance. And we had abundance. We had too many clients. And there really was a time that we were having to train agents how to top grade their pipeline and only focus on the people who had substantial funds and had the ability to write realistic offers and that had realistic expectations and would do the things that we would coach them to do, because we had people who were having to submit offers like 12% over ask price is what we were having to do at one point. And it felt horrible, but we literally had to choose who are we going to put our bandwidth into, because at the end of the day, we all only have so much of it. And it's now that market made a lot of agents really weak. It made them really soft. It made it so they can't climb higher up in the tree, because we got so accustomed to just eating the low-hanging fruit. People who were ready, people who were serious, people who wanted to write. We didn't have to nurture. We didn't have to go pay attention to anything else, because we could stay fat and happy off of the low-hanging fruit. Now, the low-hanging fruit not only is gone, you have to be able to climb all the way back up into that tree and nurture all the fruit that tree has to bear, because otherwise you're going to starve. And we see that happening with agents right now. So one of the biggest mistakes that I ever made was always thinking, oh, we need more leads. We need more leads. We got to have more. And the reality of it is we don't need more leads. We just have to get intentional around the things that we can do to get more of our leads. And you guys are going to have to forgive me here. My VA got sick and I do not know how to change this. You just are going to have to go back and convert half of the leads that we didn't convert before. But the question is how? So when it comes to CRM organization, the only thing I care about is that you can break down, there's a new lead, there's an attempted contact, there's conversation, appointment set, appointment met. This one here, and I'm going to explain why secondary appointment ratios are so incredibly important to me. Offers submitted, offers pending, and offers closed. And the reason these KPIs became so incredibly important is as we grew our team, and we've had substantial growth from 2020 all the way to last year. We did, my leg's cramping. We did 19 million in 2020, and this year we'll close about 300 million. We did 225 last year. So we have had in a market in Orange County, our market is down substantially. We have not had more agents. We have not had more leads. And that's everybody's default. Oh, you guys have more leads and you have more agents. Like, no, we don't. We just got crazy intentional on converting more of the leads that we've failed to convert in the past, because nurturing and lead conversion has always been my strength. That's the thing that I love. But in order for us to do it, like I'll make this super simple for everybody, because the CRM portion of this wasn't here. And I know that's what Yvonne labeled it. All I care about is that I can see who's new, who have I attempted contact with, and the only one I care about, because I don't care. There's people who have made 1,000 calls, but if you talk to 0 people, you didn't do it to progress your business. I don't care how many calls you made. The only thing I care about is how many conversations did you have, because conversations lead to closings. And what most people don't understand, every single one of us on this call, whether you are aware of it and have transparency into it or not, every single one of you has a conversation to close ratio. And conversation to close ratios are different for everybody. My focus when I was young was just double down, work hard, and I was a total bulldozer. And I regretted it because literally, we all know the feeling. I would work 60, 70, 80 hours a week. And now that my daughter's almost 18 years old, I look back on it and it's, God, I wish I wasn't so stupid. I wish I would have known that I don't need to work more. I just need to get better results out of the work that I'm already doing. And the way that we do that is you focus on conversations and appointments being set. And there's a really interesting dynamic that we've learned because of what Yvonne said, technology. We have a new system that listens to all of our calls. It has call recording, and now we can listen and identify, because what I got to know is when I'm looking at an agent's pipeline, how are they progressing the leads that I am giving them? How are they progressing it through the pipeline? And this pipeline, there's always a kink in it for everybody. Yvonne will have a kink, I'll have a kink, every single one of us will have a kink in the pipeline that's restricting the amount of closings that are coming out of the end of it. And that kink is going to lie somewhere in one of these key performance indicators. It's going to lie in conversations, so appointments being set, appointments being met, secondaries offers submitted. So what I want to know, and I always start over here when an agent tells me that they're, because we're a really accountable team. So I'll always know what their goal is. And during their accountability meetings, we'll start over here to the right. And we say, okay, you wanted to close 10 deals this year. I'm just using a simple number. You've closed 0. So it's like, we got a problem. So let's start working backwards from here. Let's go from close. Do we have enough pending right now that's going to help you pace for that goal that you've set? And if the answer is yes, we have less of a concern. But if the answer is, I'm not pacing for my goal, I'm not pacing for I don't have enough deals pending that's going to help bridge that gap. Okay, who are we submitting offers for, Yvonne? Do we have enough people that we're executing contracts for that we can get them into escrow so that we can start pacing? And if the answer is no, now we really start running into an issue, and we got to be able to identify why. This metric that I see here is by far the most important for me, and it's not one that people often track, but they need to, is the secondary appointment ratio. And the reason that's so incredibly important for me is I want to know, if I told you guys, hey, I went on 100 dates with 100 different girls, and I asked every single one of them on a second date, and every single one of them either ghosted me or told me no. And then I came back to you guys and I said, oh gosh, these Orange County girls, they must be crazy. You'd be like, are they? Or is it something you're doing? Is it something, are you talking too much? Are you not being friendly? Are you being rude? Are you boring? Are you not funny? There's something that's happening when somebody meets you that they're evaluating whatever that situation is, and they're not making the decision, and they don't have the interest to continue the relationship with you. But in real estate agents, we'll go meet with a bunch of clients and be like, oh man, they're all tire kickers and they're all time wasters. Buyers are liars. I hate that freaking saying, and people need to get it out of their heads. It's like, buyers aren't liars. They don't know you. They don't like you. They don't trust you. They have zero reason to disclose everything to you. And until you have built a relationship with them, and until you have added magnets to your process that's going to make them want to chase you versus you having to chase them, you got stuff to fix. And I have a rule. Tracking is something that nobody wants to do. Nobody likes to track. It's like when you're trying to gain or lose weight and you're on the scale, you love to track and get on that scale so long as you're getting the direction that you want. And it's so long as you have the momentum that you want. But then all of a sudden when we see, oh gosh, I'm doing the things, I got on the scale, oh God, it's the opposite result of what I'm looking for. Now all of a sudden we want to stop tracking because it's not motivating. It's not good. But the entire point is of why, if anybody's ever had a trainer who's a go do this exercise, eat this food, the reason that they want you to track is because they got to know, is what I'm doing working? Because each and every one of you have different outcomes, outputs, and inputs. So the thing that we got to find out is, are the things that I'm doing actually working? So tracking will shine light on what you're amazing at. It will also shine light on what you're horrible at. And as long as you have the ability to continue tracking to make sure that the things that you are doing is creating the outcomes that you are aiming for, you'll do a lot better. But most people don't track. They have zero idea what their secondary appointment ratio is. And this for me was one of the most important, because if I'm going to give leads to an agent, are they showing up in a way on first dates to where they show up looking the part? They be really friendly. They pull out the chair, they open the door, they do all the things that they should to make an amazing impression. Are they making that impression so that more of our leads that we are offering to them are progressing the relationship? And if the answer is no, I will go show you, and I will go train them on the process that I'm going to show you guys. Now, the other appointment here is the appointment met. Now, this is the one that most people will be like, I have zero control if I set an appointment if somebody shows up or not. And that's total BS. You absolutely do. And the reason, there's little things that you can do, and we're going to talk about these, and I'm going to go through each KPI, and I'm going to show you the best practices that we've installed into each of them to make sure that we feed a stronger end of year conversion. Because again, the entire focus is how can I get more conversations to turn into closings? If you have to have 100 conversations to close one deal, I certainly don't need you to have 200 to close two. I would much rather show you the things that you can do to turn more of these conversations that you're having into an appointment being set. And there's best practices to do, because organically, based on you and your skill set, without you changing anything about what you do, if you can get more appointments being set, you're naturally going to meet more people, which means you're naturally going to have more second appointments, which organically you're going to end up submitting offers for people, which organically will turn into you'll start pending more deals, which organically will turn into closing more. But the thing that people don't think of is these little steps that I'm going to take, when strung together with consistency, will create a disproportionate return into the people who I call them the Vanna White realtors of the world, who show up with a smile and they talk about, look at this beautiful 3-bedroom, it's listed at this, it's listed at that. They know they don't need you for that. That's not the value that we provide. So what we're always looking for is, one, are you pacing? No. Do you have deals pending? No. Who are we submitting offers for that we realistically think we can pen? And if you don't have anybody here, who do you got in the car right now that you're actively out searching for homes? Nobody. Okay. Who have we met recently that we haven't been able to get to a second appointment? And if it's still nobody, now we're getting to an output problem. Because if you still haven't had enough mets, okay, who have we set that we haven't met yet? And if the answer is no, because the reason an agent will always fail, there's three primary, I'll give four primary reasons that an agent fails. One, output, meaning they're just not doing enough work to generate the results that they said that they were committed to achieving. Two, skill set. So you're putting in the work, but is that work progressing people through the pipeline? And that is skill set. It's scripting, it's objection handling, and we'll go into all that. And then third is process. Okay, so you're doing the work. You've got the skill set, but do you follow an organized sales process for your buyer consultations, how you show a property, your listing presentations? Do you follow a process that is guaranteed to deliver predictable results so long as you comply with it? And then the fourth one for me is accountability, because we all get waves of motivation and we get super excited to do some of these things. But okay, as long as you're doing the output and as long as we're obsessed over skill set, which means we have the ability to articulate our messaging to our client in a way that's going to lower the friction in the sales process. And that friction is always, they don't know you, they don't like you, they don't trust you. And you got to be able to build that, lower that sales resistance so they'll be more receptive to the message that you're delivering. And it's like agents just don't think about those type of things. And so I'm going to go through each of these little best practices. Now, before you go to conversation, there's a really interesting thing that has come from technology. And they did a test with 50,000 phone calls, 50,000 conversations. And what we found, and I see Shelly here, I can only see a couple of you. So if I look at Shelly, and if Shelly's having 100 conversations, what I need to find out, and we have this, I'll have an agent come in to me and say, you know what, I'm having conversations, but I'm not getting any of them to set an appointment. So we'll look at our dashboard. And the interesting thing is, how often are you asking for an appointment? We call it BAM-FAM, book a meeting from a meeting. Like, how often are you asking for the appointment? Even if that appointment is a follow-up to the listings that you just sent them. If it's a buyer consultation, whatever it is, are you asking? It was shocking because what percentage, Yvonne, do you think on average of our entire pipeline, what percentage of agents, excuse me, not what percentage of agents, what percent of the time were our agents on the conversations that they were having asking for an appointment?
Oh, what percentage were they asking for an appointment? I would probably say it's under 10%.
It's 12. You're so close.
Close.
Only 12. I'm going to use simple numbers. You have 100 conversations. They were only asking, let's say it was 10%. That means they only asked for an appointment 10% of the time. The interesting thing is, what we found is the frequency that you ask does not affect the acceptance rate, which is insane. Meaning, if I ask for an appointment 100 times, I'm going to get 10% of the people, if that's your number. And by the way, our dashboard now tracks this. And even if you don't have this dashboard, this doesn't mean it doesn't apply to you. You're just having to guess it more often. So what we found is, if you ask 10% of the time and you had a 10% acceptance rate, that means these 100 conversations, you only had one that turned into an appointment being set. What happens if I tell Yvonne, you're at 10%, you need to get it up to 100? By the way, nobody in my office has 100%, but we have gotten people to 70 and 75%. So with the same exact output, the same exact effort, you can dramatically increase the results that you're getting simply by asking. So if we can get somebody that was at 10 and a 10% acceptance rate, that means they set one appointment. If I can get them to ask 100% of the time, the same exact output will turn into 10 appointments versus only one. And it's by asking for the damn appointment more often. And that is the thing that we are not intentional of. And then there's the other component of what percentage of the time do people actually accept? Is there a way to get more people to want to agree to sit down with you? And the answer for that is absolutely. It's just, are you articulating the value of the meeting? Sitting somebody down for a strategy session, horrible. Nobody wants to sit down for a buyer consultation. Nobody wants to sit down for a strategy session. Now, granted, you can ask it. And it's like, when was the last time somebody sat you down and really walked you through A to B? Listen, that will work, but it's still going to be wildly ineffective because you're not pinpointing the exact thing that they want that would interest them and motivate them to sitting down. For example, if somebody says that there's no homes, and if you have a bunch of off markets and I'll show you guys this here in a second, but if I can say, hey, I know you haven't been able to find anything that you're interested in, we've got an entire list of some properties that have yet to come to market that nobody else is seeing. Would you have time? And you can do it. It's a tie down. Whether you do I can meet you at 3 or I can meet you at 6. I personally, like with where our market is, people don't like meeting with you unless you make it easy. So what we'll always say for our tie down is I can meet you virtually or I can meet you in person. Which one works better for you? So if that person's challenge and their pain point was there's nothing available that they're looking for, we got to have something behind the curtain that's going to motivate them to sit down with us. And I'll actually show you guys this. We have a whole list of off markets, and you can literally go create it yourself as well. And it's because if you can show somebody, I have what you want that nobody else can give you, you've now installed a magnet that makes them want to chase you versus you having to chase them. Each of these KPIs, this is a long-winded way of saying it really matters. The things that you're showing people that you have access to that without you, otherwise they will not have, does matter. And there's ways for us to do it. I already did this. With the leads that you don't got to go get more leads. So the question is, all I got to go do is find out the people who I haven't met yet. How do I just start conversations with them again? My favorite, and I'll show you here in a second, the feel bad approach number 2 is by far the most effective. And the part where everybody struggles is I talked to this person and they told me they weren't interested, or I talked to this person and they weren't really friendly. So I'm not going to ignore any communication that you've had with them in the past because they have given you lies, I can promise you, because they don't know you, they don't like you, they don't trust you. And as a result, they have no reason to communicate with you. So we're going to go in and we're going to just start to spark up conversations within our pipeline. And by the way, this is a text template. And it's also the script. You can say what the phone calls. I hate agents. We hide behind text messaging. The shitty thing about, and sorry, I do cuss. Deanna Whitney is the name of my manufacturer. You can find her on Facebook. You can make a complaint there. So I'm sorry.
They're used to me, Colton, and so it's all right.
Okay, cool. Her Tom's starting to get a little bit more. So I'm like, all right, I might be okay. I got distracted now with you guys narking on me to my mom. So the whole thing, hey, I just wanted to, this is Colton. I was trying to update my notes. Did you ever end up finding the home you were looking for? Pause. Or are you still looking? That's it. Hey, Yvonne, this is Colton. And you try to have that tone of unfamiliarity and updating your notes. And there's even those people who will like actually crumple papers like they're turning their page. These little subtle nuances do make a difference. You can say the exact same thing, but two different people will get two completely different results of it simply based on their cadence of speech, simply based on how they deliver the message. Hey, Yvonne, this is Colton. Hey, I was trying to update my notes. Did you ever end up finding the home you were looking for, or are you still looking? And you pause and you wait for them to answer. We have a thing in us to where when there's dead space, we think we got to fill it, and it makes us the most ineffective communicators ever. Our system also tracks what percentage of the time are you talking? Because if you're talking more than 50%, you got to learn to shut up. You have to learn to close your mouth. When you say these things, pause, allow them to answer, because every answer they give is going to equip you with the tools and the ammunition that you need to effectively progress those people down the pipeline later. And it's like where everybody screws up. Hi, this is Colton Whitney with eXp Realty. How you doing today? And it's ew. And then they hang up before you even had the chance. And we're so accustomed to, hey, Yvonne, it's Colton. How you doing? I don't know her. She doesn't know me. I really don't care. She doesn't want to answer either. And I'm not saying I actually don't care. I know it is just built into us where we ask. By the time you guys, the amount of people that I hang up on just based off their initial 3-second intro, hey, this is Colton Whitney with eXp. Bye. Nobody I know talks to me like that. Nobody I know or care to have a conversation. That's a solicitation. I'm a busy person. So I hang it up before they even have the chance to talk.
And your first instinct is to go, who is this?
Exactly. And again, and you'll hear it. And we listen to it on our calls and we're like, hey,
and they're already irritated with you.
And then you ask them how you doing, and you'll hear they're like, fine, who is this? You've killed the conversation. So instead, hey, Yvonne, always use their name, always have familiarity. Don't do the, hey, this is Colton Whitney. Who do you talk to that you love to talk to that introduces himself as, hey, this is Colton Whitney? Like the solicitors to get me on the phone because I'm the worst person in the world to call. However, if you do it right, I'm going to be so cool, so fun, so nice to you because I appreciate your skill set. And it's the people who make me pause and go, oh my God, do I know this person? Do I need to? And I'm just listening to find out more about them. So you'll have people who will do it the right way. And naturally, you're going to end up getting a response. And this response would be, screw you, don't call me again, DNC me. That's rarely the answer. You'll typically hear, you know what, we put our plans on hold, or you'll hear, we already purchased, which is one of the most painful. You're going to hear, we're waiting for the market to crash, we're waiting for affordability to improve, we're fixing our credit. We're going to hear the same, none of us are that unique. We're going to hear the same 6 to 7 canned responses. And the thing that's going to matter from conversation to appointment set is you have the ability to pivot around whatever their objection is and pivot them back towards the thing that they're running towards. So get them away from the thing that they're fearful of and get them focused back towards the thing that they were excited about, and you'll start having better conversations. Now, you're going to go do one approach, and you can do, hey, Colton, just trying to update my notes. Did you ever end up finding the house you were looking for, or are you still looking? If they don't respond, and if this is on a text message, 6 minutes later, and this should hopefully be an automation that you have built out. If it's not an automation, you should be doing it on your own. Let me know with a thumbs up emoji. Because most technology and most systems don't do that second touch of, hey, just let me know with a thumbs up emoji. That simple little step will increase by 46% in our CRM. By 46%, that let me know increases the response rate by 46%. Tiny, stupid little thumbs up emoji. It's so stupid. The other part, this one works really great. Hey, I don't want my follow-up to become a nuisance. Are you still considering making a move? If not, I completely understand. I simply want to make sure I don't drop the ball if you're still interested. This one by far is our biggest, highest response rate that we receive because it's the feel bad approach. People don't like, hey, I don't want my follow-up to become a nuisance. You're acknowledging that I might be annoying the hell out of you. And I don't want to drop the ball. I'm here for you. I'm trying to work for you. It does get a great response. Here's a couple others. I'm not going to go through them because I want to have time to get through. Now, the things that are going to allow us to turn more of our conversations into appointment set is one, making sure that you have script mastery. Some of the best agents, guys, are absolutely horrible when it comes to this. And here's what I will tell you. I do not believe in scripts. I genuinely don't. They work in controlled environments when you're role playing. And we role play in the positive. We role play in this delirious world where we think, I'm going to say this one canned stupid thing, And then people are going to be like, oh my God, yeah, you know what? I am ready to buy a home in the most unaffordable market of all time. No, that's not what happens. So when we role play, it's always in the negative because I want us to have to get accustomed to pivoting around their objection 2 to 3 times because the person that you are talking to, it takes emotional strength to deflect you. It takes emotional strength to keep that wall up. And if you can just keep chipping away at it, people eventually break and they will start giving you more information. So what I do believe in is pivots. You're going to say a thing, whatever they say in between doesn't matter. And then you're going to be able to utilize the pivots to get back on track. And I'll show you that here in a second. This part, for love of, I shouldn't have to talk about this, but it's important. Time blocking. I call respectfully total bullshit on that. And the reason is you all have your time blocked if you're a good agent. But it's what you choose to do at that time instead that actually has an impact. Yvonne, go ahead. I saw you unmute yourself.
I have a theory around time blocks as well. People time block things and they don't actually commit to them.
Yeah.
So their calendar is a wish list and nothing more.
For sure.
And they ignore them like nobody's business. And I always say, so did you ignore your nail appointment? Did you ignore your hair appointment? Did you ignore your waxing appointment? No, you went to those.
Yeah.
But you put in there prospecting, role playing, and all of this, and it's completely blown off.
It's like it doesn't even exist.
Exactly. So it doesn't go in your calendar unless you're truly committed to doing it. And then you have to put it in there where it's enticing for you to actually do it.
Yep, 100%. And the reality of it is, like, I'll go out and I have a sign on my door and it says, do not enter, time blocked. And it's a big sign. I hold everybody to it. Now, granted, they're all 1099 contractors. And I'll walk out and I'll mess with them. But hey, what you doing? Oh, I'm writing a contract. It's like, interesting. Why? Because I had to get it out for my client. I got a question for you. Why aren't you prospecting? Because as long as you're constantly adding people to your pipeline, and then you're intentional on progressing people through your pipeline, you're always going to have a consistent business. But what we do is we blur the lines between what prospecting is and what follow-up is. I have a very clear rule. Prospecting is you're only talking to and following up with people who you've never met. That's it. People who you've yet to met, that appointment set. The appointment set people, the people who are sitting in attempted contact, the people who are sitting in new, you're now only focusing on those people. You're not following up with, I've already met with this person, I've submitted offers for this person, we had a deal pending and then they canceled. None of those, that's all follow-up. Prospecting is, I got to go get all these people who I've yet to met, leads that I've generated, opportunities that I've created. I got to go get more of these people to actually sit down and meet with me. Prospecting, adding people to, follow-up, progressing people through. If you can just have 1 damn hour a day, and I'd use this stupid little thing, it's a little clicker, 1 hour of uninterrupted time. And by the way, most people don't do it. So you can do the Pomodoro effect, where it's like 20 minutes, 30 minutes at a time. That stuff is super effective. But when I sit down, I go, Yvonne, why are you writing that offer? You say, oh, Colton, I had to. My client, they wanted me to submit an offer and the deadline's at 11 o'clock. Listen, sometimes that is valid. But I got a question, Yvonne. If you were supposed to be meeting with the seller right now on a $2 million listing, would you be writing this offer? None of you would. So it's okay. If you wouldn't be willing to blow off that, why are you willing to blow off the one time that is absolutely guaranteed to create more of those appointments for you in the future? I'd rather you blow off that $2 million listing appointment than the thing and the activity and the discipline of the thing that's actually going to create 10 more of those for your future. I stole this from Chet Black. We do not have a time management problem. We have a choice management problem. We choose to do the things that are comfortable for us and nothing great comes from it. So then the other part, tackling objections, making sure we have the ability to tactically get through the objections so that more of those conversations can turn into appointments. We need the ability to articulate the market, what's happening in it. People don't understand why in one of the most unaffordable markets of all time, here in Orange County, literally the average household income to buy the average price home, you would have to contribute 76% of the average household income to purchasing an average price home. None of us can get a loan for that. So the pool of buyers that we have that can afford that in the most unaffordable market of all time is very small. People don't get why in an unaffordable market, how the hell did the home values still appreciate by 10% last year? Because limited supply met with even more, limited demand met with even more limited supply still creates upward pressure on pricing. We need to have the ability to articulate that to a client. I'm going to show you here, open-ended questions, how to use them. They're going to be your best friend. And then most importantly, you end every conversation with, great, the next step is, and then asking for the appointment. Not, would you be interested in, not, I would like to, I don't know if you guys would be interested, but would you guys like to, it's like we ask permission, and we always have to use the assumptive close to where, hey, Yvonne, awesome. The next step would be for us to go ahead and sit down for a quick 15 to 30 minutes for solution to whatever their pain point was. I have a little bit of time tomorrow at 3 or to you guys understand what that is. I know Tom teaches it all the time. So if you can just build this basic skill sets into each of your conversations, you're going to turn more of them in. Now, we're putting our plans on hold. Help me better understand what has you putting your plans on hold. We assume way too much. We assume that it's affordability. We assume that these are the pivots. Anything they say in between here, it doesn't matter. If you hear this objection, all of our agents are going to follow this cadence, these pivots. Help me better understand what has you putting your plans on hold. She's going to say whatever the reason is that's keeping them from moving forward. It's like, awesome, that makes sense. What had you looking at homes in the first place? We're going to be pivoting away from what they're running from, unaffordable market, interest rates, high prices, whatever it may be, and back towards the thing that they were dreaming about. What had you looking at homes in the first place? And then they're going to give whatever answer. And okay, if I were able to find the right opportunity, checked all the boxes, the money made sense, would you be interested in taking a look at that property, or would you want to miss out on that opportunity? And then you pause. And if somebody says, no, I don't want to miss out, then that's the people that you're going to continue putting your bandwidth into. The people are like, yeah, I'd potentially be interested, but we're just trying to find out who in our pipeline is worthy of our time and attention, because we constantly are trying to turn all of our shit into gold. And in the process, you turn your gold into shit. You cannot give all of the attention that you need to give to every single person in your pipeline. They are not worthy. Your job is to be an amazing gold miner who knows how to sift through the shit, find the gold, give them all of the time and attention and bandwidth that you possibly have, and ignore everybody else. Because it happens too often that you're trying to turn everybody into a yes, and in the process, your yeses turn into nos. And it's crazy and it's stupid, and we're all guilty of it. This is the part where we added this when the market started getting weird, because literally, if they said no, top grade them, move on to the next one. But now there's a lot of dust in the air. Now people are fearful. Now we've got people who it's unaffordable. Now we have people who are scared of the economy. You got world wars, you got presidential, you got whatever it is that's giving people the excuses that they need not to move forward. They are valid. This is where agents screw up. Is Yvonne says, nope, we're absolutely putting our plans on hold. And I'm like, oh, she's garbage. It's not true. She actually is fearful. And one of what I've learned with my daughter is fear or any heightened emotion. It's like helium in a balloon. If you give it enough time, whatever that heightened emotion is, will start to dissipate. And then we can have a better, how many of you guys are married? Or in a relationship? How many of you guys have kids? Okay. If your spouse or your kids are really pissed off, is that the time to talk to them? Is that the time to reason with them? Does, honey, you're overreacting, you're being crazy. Does that ever work out well for you? When we make somebody, we condescend somebody's emotion, we discredit it. You take the string that's attached to that balloon, you cut it at its most buoyant point, it floats off and disappears, and you think it was a wasted opportunity. But eventually that fear is going to bring that balloon back to earth, and somebody else is going to capture it. Your job is to keep the string attached to the balloon. If somebody is fearful, if somebody is on hold, if somebody is on pause, your job is not to make them feel stupid, condescended to, or like they're making a bad decision. Your job is to make them feel heard, valued, understood, so that you can uncover pain points. Because if somebody's fearful of the market, what do you need in order for that perspective to change? New information, more time, because we know fear eventually dissipates. And when it does, and when they become less fearful of the market, and all of a sudden the headlines start to shift, and all of a sudden home values are still starting to appreciate, and all of a sudden the market slowly starting to rebound, all of those social forces that are going to make somebody comfortable moving forward, all of those forces will start to help dissipate that balloon faster. And the thing that we need to do very intentionally, if somebody's fearful of the market, you don't just check in with them of, hey, Yvonne, just wanted to check back in with you and see how your home search is going. No, the touch that we make should be a value-based deposit that is going to provide more information so that we can tactically create a perspective change on their own accord. If somebody's fearful of the market and they think everything's crashing like they have for the last 7 years, the market's crashing, it's all going to come apart. We need to be able to provide them information that's going to make that fear dissipate faster so that we can be the ones that's going to capture that conversion and that opportunity when it comes back to earth. The other one, plans on hold. What's your biggest frustration or challenge in the market right now that's preventing you from moving forward? Pause. Let them answer. Whatever it is, if it's inventory, if it's affordability, if it's any of those things, if I could solve X, Y, and Z, would you then be comfortable moving forward? And I'm going to show you how we're going to use that. And it's going to be the one right here. Sorry, you can tell where my VA, where I had to add this. This one, affordability and interest rate challenges. Number one objection we receive, not by opinion, but because our system has an objection cloud, and literally affordability is the biggest objection in that objection cloud that we have. And so what we're going to do is, hey, I totally get it. What happens all the time is I talk to Yvonne and I say, hey, Yvonne, what's your bet? She's putting her plans on hold. What is it? It's affordability and interest rates. It's too expensive. So what we need to be able to do, who's heard of 3-2-1 buy downs? We're using them all the time. 3-2-1 buy downs, by far one of the best ways for us to be able to sit somebody down. The problem is most agents have no idea what a 3-2-1 buy down is.
I was just going to say, Colton, if you don't know what he's talking about on a 3-2-1 buy down, you need to go do your homework for alternative methods of financing that are offered out there right now to get people in. So back in the day when I started as an escrow secretary in 1987, 6, 7, interest rates were 17.5%. So literally, you better get really creative in those kind of markets and learn what a consumer can do, or you will not be able to put people in unless it's a traditional buyer that has a shit ton of money.
Yep.
So 3-2-1 buy down, really good. Thanks for bringing it up.
Here's how you're going to use it. Hey, I totally understand. And here's what sucks. I'm waiting for interest rates to approve, or I'm waiting for affordability. Oh, I know it's crazy. Let me know. Give me a call. Save my number if you ever need anything. And what's never going to happen. So instead, don't hang up waiting for interest rates to come down to what? Like, waiting to what? I got to put a target on you and find out at what point you're worth me paying attention to again. So when they say, hey, I totally get it. Affordability has been the number one problem that my clients have been facing. Slight pause. Where would rates need to be in order for you to feel comfortable moving forward? And they'll give you an answer. And if they're within 2 to 3% of whatever the current rate is, you've got a potential. The problem is, how do you explain it to somebody who doesn't know you, like you, trust you, they don't want to talk to you on the phone? How do we find out, and how do we show them that, hey, there is an option called the 3-2-1 buy down? They don't know what it is. So instead, you're just going to do this. Hey, Yvonne, the market slowdown has forced sellers to start getting really creative in getting their home sold. We've had several of our clients get into a new program to where the seller will participate in your monthly payment to solve to the affordability problem. I'd love to connect you with the lender and see if that would be a good fit for you. Do weekdays or weekends work best for you? Now, this is why I say scripts don't work. Nobody's just immediately gonna be like, yes, absolutely. But they'll be like, huh, what? Yeah, you have the ability to get somebody 3% better than today's rate, 2% better than today's rate, 1% better than today's rate. But the thing is, we got to find out, are they a potential option? So you'll just, and you can explain it. Yeah, the seller will contribute towards your monthly payment, which is all a 3-2-1 buy down is. They're prepaying interest for you to bring down the payment to a predetermined amount, and it can solve to the affordability problem. That one thing, that one pivot has taken so many of our conversations into appointments being set. And many of those, by the way, can't afford it because, again, 76% of the average household, but that's my job to be able to push them to that point to find out. And then find out, okay, at what point will they be able to enter into the market again, and make sure I have follow-up cadences that are going to allow me to stay top of mind in relationship with them so that I can earn the privilege of being the person they think of whenever the time comes. The problem is we don't stay top of mind enough. We don't keep close enough proximity. And then we're shocked when we don't have good conversion. If somebody is waiting, they need to be hearing from you very consistently. And do write this down. Follow-up A's, B's, C's. You can have A's, B's, C's, D's. You can have hots, colds, mediums, however you organize people within your database. You can't have the same cadence for follow-up attached to every single one of them. You can't. If somebody is an A in our world, that means you need to be having 3 personal, not automated, contacts, whether it's phone call, text message, or it's an email. You need to be touching that person at least 3 times per week. A follow-up B is at least 2 times per week. A follow-up C, a follow-up A 3 times per week, a follow-up B 1 time per week, a follow-up C can be 1 time per month. But you need to have a prescribed cadence that is, and it should be a descending cadence. Because if I follow up with somebody who's not ready for a year from now, and I call them 3 times a week, they're going to block me. So instead, I need to have a cadence that's not going to annoy them, that's not going to cause them to block me, that's not going to cause it. I got to just make sure I'm staying top of mind enough to where I can stay top of mind, I can keep in proximity. And for somebody who's on hold, you need to be giving them data, keeping current matters, local market reports, things that are happening. We're just keeping them updated so we can give them information, not try to sell them, give them information that may motivate or create a perspective change that's going to get them interested in meeting with you again.
Colton,
Yeah.
is that 3 times a week, 1 time a week, 1 time a month, communications by the agent, whether it's text, phone, or email, or is it, does that include automations that your
No
team?
automations.
See, there you go.
Automations are efficient, but they're not
They're
effective.
also a crutch.
They're efficient, they're not effective.
Right.
We're in a market where you need effective, not efficient. People rely on dialers. It calls them one time. So I call Yvonne one time, and then all of a sudden it just goes to the next person, calls them one time. Then it goes to the next person, calls them one time. And then you're that agent, I made 5,000 phone calls. You talked to 0 people. You did nothing to progress your business. Don't pat yourself on the back because you sat there thinking about all the stupid shit we think about during that 2 hours of time. So instead, hang up the dialer, pick up the phone and war dial. Hey, Yvonne, nope, she didn't answer that one. Guys, I've done this on a webinar. My best friend, Shiloh, anytime he calls me, he's been my best friend for 33 years. He has been, we've known each other since we were 1. He will call me. I don't answer. He calls me again. I don't answer. He calls me. He doesn't stop. He's relentless. But he scares the shit out of me because every single time he calls, I'm like, what if somebody's dead? So he calls me one time. I was on the webinar. I ignored it. He called me the second time. I looked at it. I ignored it and hit an auto text thing. He called me the third time. I literally was like, Yvonne, I am so sorry. This is my best friend. I just need to make sure everything's okay. Hello? And he's like, what up? And I was like, oh, you bastard. I was like, I'm on a webinar right now. He's like, oh, okay, call me when you're done. However, you guys doing the exact same thing to the people who you're calling will get more of that effort to actively, effectively deliver a result. We're trying to get them to answer the damn phone, call. And then I know the excuse you're going to have. I'm like, I don't, people are going to be annoyed and they're not going to want to. They don't. They pick up the phone and they go, hello? And that's immediately when you go, hey, Yvonne, it's Colton. Hey, I was just trying to update my notes. Did you ever end up finding the home you were looking for? Or are you still looking? You just got to use effective methods, which is not going to be automation. Sending somebody a drip email, by the way, Zillow sent them that email, Redfin sent that email way before you ever did. So the hard touches have to be you physically picking up the phone, not hiding behind text messaging, and actually calling them to talk to them so that we can then have the ability to discern, are they full of it? Are they just deflecting me? We need to have that skill set down. Waiting for interest rates. You guys can screen. I'm not going to, we're going to run out of time here. I'm going to send you guys these slides so you can at least get to this. Now, here's my rule. When we're talking to people, we're going to ask open-ended questions. Open-ended questions are the thing that allows us to uncover more information. So if you say, hey, are you looking for a home in? Instead, you say, what features are most ideal for you in your next home? If somebody says, hey, if they're inquiring, I hear this all the time. Hey, I saw you inquired on a home over in Irvine. Is that where you're looking? It's a yes or a no answer, and people will say yes. So instead, we're going to ask an open-ended question. Hey, Yvonne, I know this property is in Irvine. What other 3 cities are you most interested in taking a look at? I just want to find out because all I know is the agent who sends the most opportunity with the best bait is going to have the highest likelihood of getting a bite. So instead of, hey, are you just looking in Irvine, which will always turn into a yes, other than Irvine, what other cities are you interested in considering? Because now if I simply said that and all of you guys just set up Irvine on your auto search, I've got Irvine, Lake Forest, I've got all the surrounding cities. Who's going to be sending more opportunities? I am. Who's going to be the most likely of getting the appointment? I am. It doesn't matter your sales history, doesn't matter your reviews, doesn't matter how you look, doesn't matter how you present. Sometimes it's just the freaking dummy who just ended up showing up at the right time, at the right place with the right opportunity, who has 0 expertise, who has 0 experience, but they're the ones who get the conversion because they just showed up with the right proximity at the right time with the right opportunity. And those people said, okay, let's go do it. So your job, make sure you're the one that has the ability to insert yourself whenever that time's right. And that's by having more expanded criteria. If somebody says, I'm looking, go ahead, Yvonne.
So the open-ended questions, if people are going, okay, I'm not really sure, what are you talking about? It's easy to remember it this way. Open-ended questions start with who Who, what, when, where, how, but never why, never do, never are. Okay. So if I say, Colton, do you have your down payment saved? It's a yes or no. So I never want to say, or are you renting? Yes. It blocks the conversation. So when you say things like, where are you renting right now? Where do you own a house right now? What area do you like the best? I'm going to open it up to be an open-ended question so they start talking, but stay away from the word why.
If I were to say, Yvonne, how many bedrooms are you looking for? And she says 4. Okay, we put in a rigid criteria of 4. Again, my job is, how do I make sure I set up a search that's going to give them the most opportunities? Yvonne, help me understand the importance of the 4th bedroom.
Correct. So there, he got 1 answer, he got a 4. But how does 4 bedrooms help you in your household? Oh, I have 3 children and they can put 2 of them in a room and I need a gym. Okay. I'm going to start pulling it out of them. The reason you stay away from why is it's confrontational. And so be very careful with the word why. So easy way to rebuild your questions. And I would say take an objection and build questions around one objection with all of those different ways of getting an open-ended question.
How often do you guys hear? Because we get it all the time. Yvonne, help me understand the importance of the 4th bedroom. We really need 3, but I'd love an office. I'd love a flex space. I'd love a this. I'd love a that, whatever it is. Awesome. Hey, I just want to make sure I'm not eliminating anything that you might consider. If the perfect 3-bedroom showed up, checked all the right boxes, the money made sense, it was everything you were looking for, would you want me to send you that, or do you want me to eliminate it from the search? And oftentimes you'll hear, no, you can go ahead and send it. Dude, just taking a 3 to a 4 bed, I could open up 60% in inventory that none of you are going to be sending them because I just found out the 3 will work, but they didn't say that. And or if they say, hey, we're looking for a single story, help me understand the importance of a single story. Because so often we find out and uncover a 2-story with the bedroom downstairs is more than sufficient, or with a main living area down, like we'll find out. And it's like here in our market where everything's built on top of each other, having a single story versus 2 opens up like 90% more inventory. So our job is to unpack exactly what it is they truly need. What are their negotiables? What are their non-negotiables? And make sure that we are the one that's going to be delivering more opportunities. I want to make sure I can get to the framework that I'm going to show you. Again, I'm going to send Yvonne these slides, so they'll be sent and delivered to all of you guys. I do have an appointment. Were you about to say something, Yvonne?
I was just going to say, go straight to your framework. And then anybody have any questions, you can put them in the chat. And also I will give you all of Colton's information when I send all this information out back to you guys. So you can reach out directly to him if you have any questions.
So here's the framework for what you do when you show up. Do not be the Vanna White Realtor of the world. When you're done, you set an appointment, use a calendar invite. The amount of agents who do not use calendar invites is amazing to me. I had a barber who never sent me a calendar invite. I skipped his appointments all the time, not because I'm mean, I'm busy and I forget. A calendar invite will increase the show up rate by 12%. Seems nominal. However, in the beginning, I just said we don't got to do more. We got to get better results out of what we're doing. If I can set 100 appointments throughout the year, and by setting the calendar invite, I can get an extra 12 people to show up, do you think that matters? Of course it does. If you meet more people, you're going to set more appointments. Then, Yvonne, if I'm meeting you for the first time, remember this. Send the coffee invite text. Hey, Yvonne, it's Colton. I got into the area a little bit early. I'm going to stop and I'm going to grab us a coffee. What can I get you? Super simple. People will come back with the most, like the audacity that they have. I'd like a 3 triple latte, double vanilla, skinny, blah, blah. They'll give you this order and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe you actually have the audacity to give this to me. But then you show up with it and it breaks down that wall. So if you just show up, laws of reciprocity, engage it into your organized sales process, because when you do something nice and you separate yourself from everybody else, they're going to be interested. Now, when you get to the house, your job is not to be the Vanna White Realtor. Hey, Yvonne, it's so nice to meet you. You hand them their coffee. They're slower to talk to you. You have more conversation. They're really appreciative. If you heard kids, show up with some cake pops from Starbucks. Show up with something that's really nice and friendly. And it's, hey, I'm not a helicopter parent. Go ahead and take a look around. While you're taking a look at the property, I'm going to be taking note of things that we may need to bring to the inspector's attention in the event that this is the home for you. Because why is it so often they got to bring dad, they got to bring mom, they got to bring everybody? And the reason is they don't know you, they don't like you, they don't trust you, you're not there to protect them, you want a commission. So it's like, instead, show up like dad. and you take a
Well,
look.
and also most agents are afraid to point out issues with the house
And
because
that's
they think it's going to keep them from buying it.
correct. And by the way, how often do they buy the first house? And again, I know I'm running out of runway here. So the
Never.
framework is you make sure that you're taking note of things. I'll be within an earshot's distance. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. But then you walk around and you say, hey, you see the 3 layers of roof shingles? That's typically a sign of deferred roof maintenance. If this is the house, it may be nothing. However, I'm going to want my roofer to come out here and take a look at this just to make sure there's not any hidden or any big repairs that you're going to have to make in the future. Or you say, hey, do you see that big crack in the foundation? It may be nothing. However, I'm going to want my soils person to come out here and evaluate that just to make sure that there's not going to be any covered up big expenses that you're going to have to take on if you were to purchase this. So you're bringing things together. And in the beginning, you tell them, hey, when you're done, meet me back in the kitchen and we're going to discuss everything that you loved and hated about the home. You're creating the framework. You're telling them the questions that you ask once you get them back. And like good boys and girls, they will always be sitting there in the kitchen. And how many times have you had it to where you end and conclude a showing and they're already on their way out the door and yeah, thanks, we'll think about it. And they jump in the minivan and they take off. And it's like your job, stop them. Hey, Yvonne, on a scale 1 to 10, how close is this to the home that you're looking for? And they'll be like, it's like a 6, or it's a 5, or oh, it's a 4. Got it. So this isn't the home for you. Help me better understand what would it take to make it a 10? Because now I want to find out everything that this home didn't have, find out everything that they wanted it to have in the organized sales process. And I promise you it works. She's going to say, I wanted a pool. We need more natural lighting. We wanted something more turnkey. We needed something, blah, blah, blah. And then you're a good agent and you go, awesome. Hey, I don't know if this home's still available, but I just showed to another set of buyers of mine last week that had that 4th bedroom, that had the pool, that had the thing that you said you wanted. If that home's still available, would you have time to take a look at it tomorrow at the same time? And then we're trying to book a meeting from a meeting. And there's people who will say no. There's people who it won't work for. But the entire point is just get an extra couple to allow you to book a meeting from a meeting. And I'll have agents who are like, yeah, but Colton, I don't know. You're an agent. Go back to the office and you already gave yourself the out. Hey, Yvonne, I did say it might not be available. That home's not available, but I found a couple others that are. I'd love to discuss how I can connect you with some of these off markets. I can meet you virtually or in person. What time works better for you? And it's like the entire point is on your first showing to turn more of them in. You got to make sure that you're doing the calendar invite, get more people to show up. When you do show up, you present yourself as somebody who's not an order taker, not somebody who's just going to be the Vanna White realtor, but you're going to follow that process. What about this house do you hate? What did you expect it to have? Can I get you into that next appointment? Because every single showing you have needs to end up with 1, an appointment being set to look at setting your second appointment to go look at more homes, or 2, the one that I actually believe in, sit them down for a damn strategy session so you can show them, hey, and when I sit somebody down, it's not, hey, Yvonne, I'm going to sit you down for a buyer strategy session. I'm going to find out if her pain point is inventory. I'm going to show you these off markets, which we have in a map. I'm going to show you these off markets. Here's things that I have that without me, you don't get access to, la-da. Or number 2, here's our off market inventory search team that will create inventory for you in the areas that you're looking through our off market approach, which is direct mailers, celebrity agent, like our ISA department will call, you can personally call. But I got to find out what that pain point is, show them this is how I'm going to solve into it. I would love to sit you down. What works better? I can meet you virtually or I can meet you in person. But every single showing that we have needs to end with another meeting being booked.
That's no different than when you're making your calls and you're using a CRM. You're future pacing it. So you're never leaving a contact without creating a future task. Yep. So if you're going to call them tomorrow again, because it's your 3 times a week or 2 days from now, you're setting a future task in the CRM. When you're at an appointment, you're setting a future appointment. We always said, never leave an appointment without a next appointment unless you're writing the offer that afternoon. And the other thing I would add to that is what I've always done, and it was the best closing tool that I ever used to get somebody to go to a point where they're comfortable writing an offer, is also to work with an app. Like I use Palm Agent, given to me through, it's $1 a month or something, $12 a year through Lawyer's Title. And best closing tool ever, because you can then at a home that you think that it's a 10 or it's a 9 at least, or an 8, you can literally say, let me show you what it's going to cost you to buy this house now. And you're giving them the numbers in black and white, which is the scariest part for them. But you're going to be able to they're going to go, oh, that works. Let's do it. The other thing I would say, careful about having those kind of conversations inside the house that you're showing. Take them outside, because we are in the world of recorded. everything. Even when we're supposed to in California, and I believe other states, put a sign on the door on a listing that says there are cameras on the property, you may not see that. So I highly recommend that you go ahead and take them outside to the driveway or a little bit further closer to the car and have all of those conversations.
Yep. This is the thing. Show up with a binder. It'll say off market. You can have it printed. We have a high note, a thing prepared for people's phones and their iPads. You need to show them the thing. People believe what they see, what they hear. If you say you have off markets, like here's ours, and it will literally, there'll just be a list in there. Print them off one time. You can just go print all the off markets, the expired, you can do expireds for all I care. Just have a book of something that's going to show people, hey, I'd love to see if any of these are an opportunity for you. Nobody else is fighting over them because everybody's biggest fear is, I don't want to overpay and I don't want to miss out. So off markets prevent you from having to pay because you won't have to compete against the open market. And two, I'm going to give you opportunities that everybody else is going to miss out on. So it's like for us, you can see here, we have it built into a map. And it's, you guys can literally build this. It takes 3 seconds. You can text me privately to figure out how. But if I can just show people like, hey, here's all the off markets that we have, pocket listings that haven't yet hit the market. I'd love to see if any of these are a good fit for you. What works better for you, virtually or in person? We really got to be intentional. And I have shit that nobody else is going to be able to give you. And I have things that you won't be able to buy unless you use me. And it's like when we use that, it works to get the buyer brokerage agreement every single time. And it's how we get more of the people that we are in our pipelines actually commit to us. Sorry, I didn't have a chance to get through everything.
Oh, that's okay. No, I might have to have you back so we can do more. This is great. Thank you so much, Colton. Great information. Amazing. If you guys did not get at least 3 to 5 like easy things for you to go take and go put deals together this week, then you weren't listening. That's all I can say. Fantastic. Colton's going to send me the slide deck and I will send out all of his information to you guys. And thank you, Colton. This was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. I'm going to send that over to you right now.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you.